Welcome to the Franchise Freedom Podcast, where you can escape the corporate trap through franchise ownership. Here's your host, Giuseppe Grammatico, the Franchise Guide.
That role, what is your role in the business? Yeah, that's a good point. And I will say this, in franchising for a while, lots of thousands, 4,000 franchises I think are out there. And I will say they are not all built the same, but the sign of a strong franchise, and if they are emerging, they are still figuring things out depending how many units they have or territories. But they have that franchise avatar. They know that, okay, to be a good franchisee, you need to follow systems. But to your point, if it is, you need to be an extrovert and you need to be co-calling specifically, and you are the complete opposite, well, that should really be tackled in that first or second call. You should not be going into a discovery kind of final decision stage. They should really kind of come back and say, unless you find a person to handle sales, this probably isn't going to work. So I think those are signs of a more established franchise, or a franchise that really knows who their avatar is.
That knows who they're after. Yeah, because I think for a lot of brands, it only takes one or two folks who you think is going to be a great fit, and then they come in and it's like oil and water to realize this didn't work. One of the brands we work with, and I won't name names right now, but I think they do such a great job because they actually get a lot of executive types who come in. And one of the things they say right up front is they say, look, like, you're going to be doing work that you thought you were like too good for 20 years ago. You haven't been doing this kind of work in a long time.
Right.
Well, we are not interested in you if you're not willing to come in and do some of that work right up front. Like, we are not a hands-off business, so we're not going to be fully absentee. That's not a thing. You have to be willing to get your hands dirty, and that's scary and it's embarrassing. And it's these kind of things that often like executives are not ready for if you're thinking like, gosh, I'll be able to come in and do everything at arm's length. So I think you're dead on. Like, the brand often knows the answer to who they are looking for, and it's worth pressing on that, because I think there are, brands love to get qualified, awesome, smart people. And so there's a competition to say, of course, like, we love a semi-absentee model, or yes, you can definitely just be an investor, but it's really worth pushing on that to understand and to know, like, hey, what is the actual thing I'll be doing day to day? And is it something that I can really get?
I couldn't agree more. This is a 5-10-year, when I signed 20-year franchise agreement. So this is a long-term relationship. So it's going to be really painful. It's not going to be enjoyable if it's something that you're not going to enjoy doing and the match isn't there. When people say to me sometimes, oh, I haven't made much progress, this brand maybe isn't the best fit, I go, no, it is a fit. You're getting closer and closer to what that ideal franchise model is. You don't really necessarily need the experience in the industry, but you need the transferable skill set. So if you're going from Wall Street to cleaning, I'm trying to think of two businesses that could be so different. You may need management experience. You're going to need networking experience going to maybe property managers. It's a commercial cleaning business, that type of business. So you definitely want to do kind of a self-assessment. What are you good at? Not in the industry, but what are you good at in general? Are you a people person?
Absolutely. In life, yeah. What are your skills? Yeah.
It's really that simple. And then you can start and scaling down. Are you able to run the business full time in that kind of role? Is it just nights and weekends overseeing a manager? That's going to make a difference, because not all brands allow you to run the business semi-absentee.
And some of them say semi-absentee. I will tell you, this is like, I will drive this one home forever. But what they mean is it can be part-time, but it doesn't mean that's the time you have. And I think for your listeners, especially, this is critical. Like, if what you have is 20 hours a week, but to your point, it's all nights and weekends, and you're going to keep a full-time job, that might not work with a brand that says, absolutely, you can do this in 10 or 20 hours a week, but it has to be the middle of the afternoon so you can be out like networking in the community. Like, it is that semi-absentee doesn't mean the same thing to everyone. And some of those like lifestyle and part-time, those don't always mean the same thing. And I think that is really good to know in advance.
Agreed. Absolutely. And no passive stuff. I always say there's no,
there's no such thing.
I said there's other investments you could make that are definitely more passive: stock market, real estate, depending on real estate syndication, I'll call it that. But yeah, this is definitely, you're definitely going to be hands-on. There's definitely a lot of work to get the business launched.
1,000%. I tell people that all the time. Yeah, there's no such thing as passive. I almost would say there is hardly such a thing as semi-absentee. I'm willing to say part-time, but if you want to own a business, you got to actually want to own that business. And I think that really has to come down to it. Like, the more arm's length it is, typically the more red flags that you're going to get, and the harder that's going to be. But I do think you're right when it comes to the long-term relationship and fit piece. I just want to come back to this. I used to joke about how it's like a marriage, and just because a brand is a great brand does not mean it's a great fit for you. And there's a lot of fish in the sea when it comes to brands, the dating pool, all those things. But like, you want to be in a place where not just you like the brand and, you like what they stand for and you're financially qualified, whatever, you think you can make money, but where you like the people and you can envision yourself being a part of the family and a part of the culture and being willing to have a fight with them or a hard conversation and being able to then get over that. Like transparency, accountability, like your ability to come in and connect with other franchisees, like those things become important. It is not just, hey, I think this can make money. There are a lot of businesses out there that can make money, but if you don't actually like it and it's not a good culture fit, you can sign yourself up for a very long 10 years. And so I think that piece is really critical. That's where some of those D-Day and validation and some of those things come in as well, is it's got to feel like something that you want to be a part of culturally.
100%. You definitely nailed that. And you get a feel for that when you do the validation calls and, the topics that they're going over and the full transparency, because guess what? In a couple of years, or maybe in a year, you buy that franchise, you're going to be asked to potentially do the exact same calls and help out your fellow future franchisees, maybe your fellow neighboring franchisees.
Of course. It's so funny to me. Like we probably have 15 different brands that we do full service work with right now. And when you go to 2 different discovery days, it's wild how different those experiences are, even though the agenda is roughly the same and the topics covered are the same. But you can tell right away by the time you get to D-Day, the candidates look different. The vibes are different. Some of them, it's like a party the whole time. Others, it's a more buttoned up, kind of a serious group, and everyone's sitting there and they've got their computers out and they're taking notes and they're in business outfit. Like the cultural differences come to the forefront so quickly. And it really is and should be. It's a diverse community, but it's a reflection of the culture of what that brand is going to be. So having those things feel good too, like they really do matter a lot. And you can tell the difference, man. Sometimes everything on paper looks good and you walk in the door and go, nope, I don't think this is for me. And that's a good thing, to your point.
Right.
That's great to get to that point. Better than before you sign the 10 years of your life.
Absolutely. Yeah. You got to figure it out now, and then you make progress. And hey, I loved everything about this business. It's just the client acquisition piece is B2B. I prefer more of a B2C approach. That's okay.
And now you know what to look for, right? Then you can go look for another brand that's a better fit. Oh, 1,000%. Yeah.
Especially if it's a parent company or a company working with multiple brands, they can help you say, hey, well, we can pivot and look at the exact same model, but on a B2C approach, or an exact same model that has a 1099 labor, 1099 technicians versus W2. These are just more preferences, not what's better, but maybe that's the preference.
A better style for you.
You're aligning your skills and expectations. What's the final overarching advice for navigating the often overwhelming franchise selection process, especially if you're unsure where to even begin?
Thanks for tuning in. If you want to learn how to make the transition from corporate to owning your franchise, join Giuseppe on the next episode. You can also follow on all social media platforms and achieve financial and time freedom today.